You're listening to Three Kitchens, a member of the Alberta Podcast Network, locally grown, community supported. Join your hosts, Heather Dyer, Sarah Sumsundren, and Erin Walker. You never know what they're going to make next.
This episode is brought to you by Park Power, your friendly local utility providers in Alberta, offering internet, electricity, and natural gas with low rates, awesome service, and profit sharing with local charities.
Winter is coming, and energy usage for all Albertans will be increasing. So now is a great time for listeners to look at their utility bills and ensure they are on the best plan. Albertans have a choice of utility providers.
Park Power is happy to provide free, no-obligation comparisons. If you decide to switch providers, it's easy, and you can feel good knowing you are supporting a local business and helping to give back to our communities with your utility bill. Learn more at parkpower.ca.
Hello and Happy New Year. Welcome to today's episode of Three Kitchens Podcast. I'm Erin Walker and I'm joined here with the amazing Sarah Somasundra.
Happy New Year, guys.
And Heather Dyer.
Happy New Year.
Hello,
wow.
ladies.
What a nice introduction.
New and fresh, and we're all pumped for what's to come, right?
Oh,
okay.
Yeah. What's to come? I was just talking yesterday with a friend about, I was like, make your vision board, get your vision board ready. And he was like,
good idea.
We got to do our New Year's vision boards, guys.
That's right.
That's a good idea.
See, when I say that, all I want to do is get together with you guys with like a stack of magazines and glue and scissors and a poster board, because for me, a vision board is physical, not digital, although you've been telling me that you can do digital ones.
I'm like, I don't want to cut things out of a magazine and glue it on something. And I said, you don't have to. You can just create a Pinterest board and save images of stuff and then just look at it every so often, add to it, change it. Yeah.
So much easier, right?
Yeah, and you don't have the clutter of I don't want the paper thing hanging around. I got enough junk, kids' crafts, and
Instead of finding a picture of Roy Choi in a magazine, right?
Yes,
now you can just digitally get it.
She wants Roy Choi in her vision board.
Yep.
Just cooking with him.
Put it out there to the universe.
Exactly.
I want to connect with Roy Choi. Yeah. So if anyone listened to a couple episodes back, I made beef Wellington before Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
And this kind of seemed to inspire at least a couple of people to make it.
Inspired me. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
yes, it was delicious. And yeah, my husband made me make extra. I knew it was going to be too much, I said, but I ended up eating the last piece last night.
Oh, it is good as leftover.
Yeah, it was
It
good.
does hold up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And yours was beautiful. We'll post a picture on our socials because yours was
good.
Gorgeous, like photogenic beef.
It looked like it should have been in a magazine or it should have been on Sheffy's website there. Old Gordon Ramsay.
Old Gordon would be proud, man. He would have been proud of yours. And then a friend of mine, my friend Lisa, commented on one of our posts and said, can you teach me how to make it? Let's do this together. So I went to her place and together we spent the afternoon drinking wine and making Wellington, and maybe we drank too much wine, and it was not as beautiful as Sarah's, but it was tasty for sure. And we had a lot of fun.
Nice.
One lesson, here's a lesson I learned based on Lisa's experience. So before I arrived, she had made the duxelle, which is the mushroom kind of paste. Very important component to get right, I would just tell you, because, when I made it, I put it in the food processor to kind of mince those mushrooms into very tiny pieces. She just chopped hers with a knife. The pieces were not small enough. They did not reduce down to like a paste. It was too crumbly and loose.
Okay.
So it didn't hold together. Like when you sliced into it, the mushrooms kind of fell out and it didn't hold it together.
Okay.
So that's a very important piece, which we didn't really realize because we had, I'm sure you did too, Sarah, made it nice and tight, like a nice paste out of it.
Paste, yeah.
Yeah. So in hindsight, Lisa and I both said it was the mushroom. The mushroom didn't hold. So you do need to make sure they're minced really small and reduced down to like, you can pretty much spread it. Yeah.
It's got to be spreadable.
It's important. So for those of us who were new to duxelle, now we know what it should be.
Yeah.
Fantastic. What great advice. I haven't done it yet, but it is on the list. So
good.
My advice is to make a lot of that duxelle because that stuff is delicious.
Yes.
I think there is something to be said about the meat to duxelle
ratio.
And the other thing that I added to mine was I added a crepe. And I think, so Heather had asked if it had changed much in the flavor. I didn't use chives like Gordon Ramsay said. I used spring onions. And I think one of the things that it does is that it keeps the liquid or
juice,
everything sealed.
The moisture
in, right? The moisture in from, not a lot of moisture came out of the pastry in the oven. It all kind of stayed in. So that was, I think, a nice little layer to add on. And it takes like 2 seconds to do.
Oh, that's interesting, because I hadn't done that when I made it. I did not do crepe. And I still kind of stand by now, having done the individual portion ones and the larger single one. Individual, to me, it was more work, took longer.
Right.
But to serve it was so much simpler. You're just putting that nice little bundle on the plate. You didn't have to try to slice that. I mean, it didn't help that ours was a little crumbly. Didn't slice well. Sarah's did, obviously. If you look at the photo, it sliced nicely. But the individual little portions, I would do again.
I like the individual portions. I just didn't do it because you said it was more work.
Yeah, it is more work.
I was not feeling it. So
come on, it's only Christmas Day. Like you don't have spare time. Come on,
Sarah. Shame on you. Isn't it all about cooking?
It was my laziest Christmas. And we did, for my daughter wanted to make hazelnut spread and banana wontons, we did in the wonton cups that we did in what episode was that?
The last one.
New Year's menu. Yeah.
The New Year's
It was
menu.
last year, so it was it's hard to remember, right?
2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago.
So yeah, we did those, and that was like the simplest dessert I've ever done for Christmas, but that's what they wanted. So I'm just like, you know what? We're going to keep it all simple. And there was no party. It was just us.
Yeah,
we didn't even do dessert at all. We just had our stack of baking containers.
Oh yeah.
We got together with family. But every day it was like, what's for after breakfast snack? Treats from the containers. What's for after lunch snack? Treats from the containers.
Yeah.
What's for dessert tonight?
After, before, in between.
Yeah.
Whatever.
And hey, listen, if anybody out there is inspired to cook what we've cooked or want to try one of these recipes, and if you do, take a photo, post it on your social, tag 3 Kitchens Podcast, or email us you can do a little audio clip right on your phone with the audio recorder and send it to us, and maybe we'll put it in one of our episodes.
Yes, please. That would be so fun.
Just like Lisa and I made something.
This is my special guest from 3 Kitchens Podcast, helping me with a one-on-one lesson with beef Wellington. And I'm no teacher. And Lisa is an amazing cook all on her own, so don't let her fool you. Why, thank you, Heather. It's true.
And if you do too, then we would love to include
Why don't you give the listeners the email address?
3kitchenspodcast@gmail.com.
So easy, guys.
Yeah. We're so excited. Please do. Somebody please do, because it'd be so fun.
It'll be fun.
Tell us what you're making. Even if it failed, even if you say, listen, your instructions were shit. I mean, I hope that's not the case, but we just want we want to hear how it works.
The gloopy gloop.
Yeah, the gloopy gloop of the strudel. I want someone to make a strudel and tell us how gloopy their gloop was.
Exactly.
I have not attempted it myself, but I want someone else to. We're waiting for Erin's screen to she's
hello. My interconnection is unstable. Yes. It's more than my internet connection that's unstable. All right.
You're fine. What are you cooking? What have you got for us?
So we had a super hot summer, which allowed me to grow a huge squash plant. And so I should dig back and find some pictures. These squashes took over my garden. It was crawling all the way to my back fence. It took over the bench that sits in front of our garden. The squash was like the plant that was going to come and attack you in the night. You felt like if you sat still for too long, it would wrap a tendril around you and take you away.
Like Little Shop of Horrors.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's right.
Thank you. That's the reference I'm looking for.
Feed me, Erin, feed me.
So I was able to harvest off, what did I get? Like 5 or 6 grocery store plus sized butternut squash. And so they did not ripen on the vine because the weather changed. It got cold. The plants died. So I harvested them sort of as late as I could. And then I took them inside and put them in my basement to ripen up. And so they're called a winter squash, I'm assuming, because they take a long time to ripen up. And then you eat them in the winter.
Well, I eat mine far too soon. You gave it to me in the fall, and I just like made a soup out of it that was delicious. I roasted that thing whole in the oven for like all afternoon, and then I blended it up and made soup out of it. And I didn't know that I was supposed to leave it longer to ripen, but it was still good.
Maybe it's just because they keep and you can use them in the winter so that you have year round.
Yeah, that could be, because it certainly wasn't underripe. Like it was good.
But if you think of like a zucchini is called a summer squash, because zucchinis, they're not keeping. You harvest them and you eat them. And at the rate that they grow, you harvest them continually, you eat them continually, and then you never want to see a zucchini again for another 8 months. Whereas these, they can sit around for a while. You can keep them in a cool room or just, in your basement. I've got 3 big ones sitting down there waiting.
Nice.
Waiting to get chopped up.
Waiting for this episode.
Let's for now. So I would like to make a butternut squash ravioli.
Okay.
Because I keep hearing about pumpkin ravioli, and I think that sounds delicious. And last year, actually in season 1, Heather made these amazingly delicious roasted butternut squash with the salted lemons when we were camping. And they were just, out of all the things that I ate while we were camping, I loved the steak and I loved the other stuff, but chicken and everything, but I just could not stop going back and eating more vegetables. And they were like the highlight of that meal. That flavor has stuck in there. So I would like to make my filling by roasting the butternut squash with the lemons. So I'm going to ask Heather how she put that together, because I want to do like the exact same thing. So that's what my filling tastes like. And then I would like to just make some homemade raviolis, because I have that ravioli making thing that came with the pasta bite.
Right.
Now, I have a bit of a problem. Does anybody know where the pasta bite is?
It's in my pantry.
Oh my God. So before we got on to do this episode today, I looked in the corner where I thought it was. And I was like, well, maybe I moved it for Christmas. So I went through my pantries because I organized my pantry. And I was like, well, it's not in here. Well, maybe I put it somewhere else in my kitchen.
Oh, no.
So I was upstairs and downstairs and in the storage room and in the lot. I was like, where did it go?
You should have sent the message out. Oh.
No, this was much more fun because I was hoping it was fun. I was hoping it was somewhere, and I was like, you know what? I'm just going to bring this into our conversation. And if I can't find it, nobody has it, this will be really interesting.
Right.
You'll be doing it by hand. You'll be rolling it out and cutting them out.
And then this episode will just go, and it'll be the end.
Can we put that little sound effect in there, Erin? Can you put one of those record scratch?
Yeah. Okay.
Fun.
Phew. The pasta bake and all the stuff. Sarah's got it.
Yes.
All right.
I do.
So I'm going to need that back.
Okay.
And because I really don't want to make this by hand. Making the pasta that I made, was that season 1, the greeny fettuccine?
Yes, that was so good.
It was so tasty and it was easy to do. Like, it did not take a ton of time to make your own homemade pasta.
Right.
I think making the ravioli is going to be a little bit finickier, but I've got that mold that you roll out your pasta dough, you lie your dough on top, you put your filling in, and then you roll your second sheet on top, and then you roll with a rolling pin, and it cuts it all into the little pieces that you want.
Oh, cool.
And it's going to give it that nice little edge and hopefully make it faster than these wonderful people out there who do these pasta things. I love you. And I think you're amazing. Beautiful. I saw somebody making molds that had like little shapes of filling.
Oh, Salty Seattle.
Yeah. Salty Seattle's one of them.
Oh,
She's like a whole different level, though.
Are you kidding me? Her dinosaurs stand up in their pasta.
That's amazing. I love watching her Instagram feed. I would never, ever attempt any of it, but it's so beautiful to look at.
So we'll see. I'm going to try and make these raviolis with this butternut squash filling. I think there's a recipe on the back of the ravioli press cutter thing. I'll give it a better name next episode.
For the dough, you mean?
Yeah, I think there's a dough recipe. So I'll look at that and maybe make that for the dough.
Do you want to borrow the salty, what is it?
Oh, pasta pretty,
what's it
please?
called? Pasta, yeah, that's it.
Oh, I forgot you had the book.
That's right.
I'll just pass it to you. Use it
Mine
if you want to.
Well. I'll take a peek at it. Maybe I'll use something in the dough to make it colorful. I don't know.
Yeah.
I if you could see my face, I don't feel super convinced I'll do that. I don't want to start too high up for the new year because then it's only downhill. So let's just let's start down here and go from there. And yeah, I think this will be really tasty in a pasta. And then I just want to go super simple with the sauce. I just want brown butter and sage sauce with this salted butternut squash. I just feel like
that sounds like perfect weather for that because it is freezing outside, guys. It's like minus 27, I don't know what, degrees Celsius. And it's so hard to keep warm even in the house because that cold comes right through those big windows, right? So that sounds like a perfect...
My drafty little old house is definitely...
I hear you. I hear you, Erin. I almost can't believe that I'm thinking like, oh, this sounds so good and I want to eat it because all I've been doing is eating. And I feel like I need to just fast for a few days because I'm so I'm actually sick of food and sick of eating, but this sounds so good that, it's perking me up again. My fast lasted about 12 hours.
I got Heather's tummy to grumble.
I'm with you, Heather. Every morning I wake up and I go, I'm going to be good today. And then every night I have about 7 dinners.
Yeah.
I'm just.
When did you make it till the other morning, Heather? You woke up and said, I'm not touching any sweets or snacks today.
And then I ate a Nanaimo bar at like 9 a.m. It is
Christmas willpower.
Yes. We have so much stuff that it just is sitting there and I want to toss it out, but then I feel kind of guilty just tossing that out too. So
just do a leftover dinner.
Leftover sweets. That's what I got though, is sweets.
Yeah.
Yuck. Well, I'm sick of it.
Yeah, I know. My kids, our diet is awful right now. Whatever, we'll get over it. And
it's cheese and crackers.
We'll start pooping again next year.
This is next year, Erin.
Oh, shit.
A sugar detox. Sugar. It's going to hurt. Like coming off the sugar is going to hurt.
Yeah, it's going to be painful. We'll come off the sugar with some tasty ravioli. It'll be veggies and carbs.
It sounds good, though. It sounds
butter.
Healthy.
All the food groups that we need.
Yes.
Okay, so Sarah, if I could get my pasta maker...
Yes,
I will run off and make these raviolis.
Of course you can.
Awesome. Can't wait to eat it.
Sounds good, Erin. We look forward to this.
Yum.
This episode of Three Kitchens is brought to you by the Alberta Association of Optometrists, proudly celebrating a century of caring for Albertans. It happens. Many people don't call their optometrist first for urgent eye care when they need it.
From spring cleaning mishaps to winter eye infections, if you or your family have an eye emergency, doctors of optometry are trained to diagnose, treat, and prescribe medications. No referral necessary. And just a reminder, Alberta health coverage is available towards your urgent eye care appointment. To find an optometrist in your area, visit optometrist.ab.ca.
The Alberta Association of Optometrists represents almost 800 doctors of optometry in over 80 communities across the province. Members are highly trained, regulated health professionals who provide primary eye health and vision care to Albertans. Learn more at optometrists.ab.ca.
Hello, listeners. Welcome back. We should get down to what we came here for.
To business. The business of the ravioli.
It was good business. Well, good business for me.
Yeah. I want to know what everyone thought about
We got dinner delivered yesterday. Dinner.
Well, you added to your dinner.
I add it to my dinner because I have to have meat. But
yeah, sorry, I didn't also bring a T-bone steak to your
Oh, come on,
doorstep.
Erin.
So, Sarah, you added it to your dinner. You got a dozen raviolis.
okay, it was freaking delicious. The whole family loved it,
Oh,
which is,
good.
and Craig was talking about, oh, look, this is another vegetarian meal that we can add to our plate. And I'm like, yeah, okay, always will have that piece of steak for myself because I made a piece of steak to go with it.
Right.
The creaminess of the filling, like never tasted anything, was so silky.
It was, wasn't it?
That sauce that you put was so simple.
Did you add more butter? Did you brown it?
Of course I added more butter. No, I didn't brown it. So
Nice.
good. And now I just want to know how to make it. And I really, really want to know if we can freeze it. That would be such a bonus if we could make a big batch and then take it out whenever, right?
Yes.
Heather?
I'll just tell my quick little backstory for this because I was making a ham yesterday.
Oh, right.
This is not my favorite. That's
No,
putting
it's
it
not my
nicely.
favorite
I
either.
hate ham. A roast ham is like yuck to me. I don't like ham.
Well, tell the listener the size of this ham.
This thing was huge. So what happened was my husband had to work Christmas Eve at the fire hall, and they were discussing in advance, what should we eat for dinner? It's Christmas Eve. We'll make something nice. And he voted for ham because he never gets to eat it because I don't make it because I don't like it. And he really loves it. But he got voted out. They had prime rib. The guys went to the store, bought him a 7-pound ham and handed it over in a gift bag to him as a gift for Christmas because they felt he was pouting that he didn't get his ham dinner. And so he brought it home. He walks to work, as you know, through the park, 40-minute walk. In the deep freeze, like what was it like on Christmas morning, -40 or something? Before the sun comes up, it's like effing cold. He walked home carrying his ham in his arms,
like his baby,
like
his Christmas baby.
Yes. So he brings it home and he hands it to me as soon as he comes through the door. He's like, look what I got. And he was so happy. He's like, can you cook this for me? And I look in there and I'm like, oh my God. So anyway, I committed to making this ham and my kids like it too. So, I mean, the whole family was really happy about having ham except me. But I lucked out because it just happened to be the day that Erin was bringing ravioli. And I was like, yes, that's my dinner.
Yep. There, see, the mind meld worked. You sent me like the invisible signal that told me make ravioli.
It was perfect for me because I didn't have to worry about what am I going to eat besides, there was vegetables and salad to go with the ham, but I had ravioli instead. So I got to eat almost a whole dozen myself, just about. I had I think I had 7 of them and the family had the rest. And that was my dinner. When Sarah made that awesome little video and there were 3 on the plate and I was laughing over the text message as if anyone would just eat 3 ravioli in one sitting. Like, that's ridiculous.
And I was like I did. I only ate 3.
I was like, oh, you poor thing. Like, oh, that's really sad for you because I did not share that much. I was like, no, you guys eat your ham because I'm eating all these. Okay, so I felt the same as you, Sarah. Like, it was so soft. Like, just melt in your mouth butternut squash in the middle of it. And even the noodles. Like, I am so unaccustomed to fresh pasta. Like, I've had it like a couple of times, I think.
It's not something we really usually have.
Even in a restaurant, I bet you it has dried longer.
Right.
I would think
because I would think they would make it much earlier and then have it all ready to go by the time the customers come in. So
it's even hard to tell when you put it in water. So Erin brought it to us not boiled; it wasn't cooked yet. So we had to boil it in the water, and we were like, "How long should we do this?" And you can't tell exactly when to pull it out, right?
I kept taking mine out and biting the corners to see if it was. That's how I figured out for mine. I was like, well, I think that's good enough.
And how long did you end up doing yours, would you say?
4 to 5 minutes. Again, I tend to be really bad about timing things.
I know,
I'm like, oh, I should time this. And then that's the last time I think those words. And I just do it.
I did 3 to 4 minutes.
I think it was 5.
I waited for them to float, but then I had a pan ready with the sauce and the butter.
Mm-hmm.
And then I took it out of there and then I put it in the pan. So it cooked for an extra minute after.
Yeah.
In the sauce.
I did the same thing. I transferred them from the boiling water into my frying pan of butter with sage and garlic. And I just flipped them in there until they kind of sizzled through and then popped them into plates.
All right, let's hear this. I want to know how easy this is to make because, that silkiness of I don't know how to explain it. Like, I don't think I've ever had butternut squash ravioli or any pumpkin kind of ravioli, a squash ravioli that's silky.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I couldn't believe how it blended up like that. So how did I do this? Magic.
How did you do it, Erin?
Ta-da!
What sorcery is this?
First of all, it was the butternut squash from my garden. So I'm going to put a huge stock on that. How would you describe squash when you haven't mushed it and smashed it up? Like stringy or like it's got a texture to it, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It can, yeah, for sure.
It can.
Yeah.
Kind of fibrous.
Yeah,
Thank you for the word, Heather.
My work is done. I will now just coast through the rest of the episode. I have nothing else to contribute.
Yeah. As soon as I cut these open and started slicing them and dicing them up for this, it was amazing how smooth it already was. So I would say that a good chunk of the texture and flavor was due to the fact that these were homegrown veggies.
Right.
I mean, you just can't beat that, right? So I chopped up 2 of the butternut squash that I had. Once I blended it all down and everything, it was 4 cups of filling that I had that I ended up making. But it was a big amount when it went into the cast iron pan. So I mixed, it was the butternut squash. I put the salted lemon. I put 1/4 of a salted lemon in and diced that up. I don't think there was really much else that I put in there for the roasting pan. And then I just tossed it in the oven. I put tin foil over it to try and keep all the moisture in. And I let it roast at 400 degrees for about 30 to 40 minutes. It wasn't a long time. It went pretty quick. Them?
She put salted lemon in there.
Oh, right. Salted lemon. So that's
listeners, if you use your salted lemons, you don't add more salt.
Don't.
Unless you taste it salty. And you feel like you need a little extra something, but just that's your salt.
So, and if you don't know how to make a salted lemon, really simple, delicious, go check out, what is it? Our 3rd episode Heather did. It was
something like that.
That's the 2nd or the 3rd one.
Yeah.
Check out the easy peasy lemon salty. It's staple ingredient if you're going to cook anything.
Yeah, anything
that we ever talk about. So I kind of roasted this up the day before because I wanted it to cool. Because if I was using hot filling on pasta dough, that would have been a disaster. Right. I got out my immersion blender, blended up the squash, and to every 2 cups of squash, I added 1 egg to it because I looked online to see like what do people normally do for their pumpkin filling.
This helps bind it together, right?
I think so.
So it's not too runny. Yeah.
You know what? Just going off of what other people have done. There's a reason they've done that. I don't have to understand it, but lots of people did it. So I'm like, well, I'll do that too.
It worked.
We've come a ways from the times when Erin wanted to know all the science behind the reason for the egg or whatever.
It is 2022 and I am fresh out of facts. That's my slogan for the year.
I love it.
Okay. So the filling was really easy to make. The ravioli, super easy to make.
Okay, you did the whole thing by hand, right?
I mixed it by hand. I kneaded it by hand. I rolled it out using my pasta machine.
Mm-hmm.
And then I used my ravioli maker.
So Erin did a whole bunch of videos and we're going to post some so that you guys can see what she did. But I finally understand how to use that ravioli maker because it was always in the same bag as her pasta maker and I never opened it and I'm like, I wonder how this works, but now I know.
Yeah. I'd never used it before.
So is this unusual to do it all by hand? Like you typically would a normal human being like Sarah or me do this in a mixer?
I feel like
or could I guess my question
me
is
out as a not normal person, so I don't know if I want to answer that question.
You caught that, did you? No. could I use a mixer to
In the
do
past,
pasta?
I've used a stand mixer for making pasta dough.
Okay.
And when I made the fettuccine, I used a stand mixer because that's what the instructions said. This one, I used the recipe off the back of the box of my ravioli maker because I thought, hey,
Why not?
if it comes on the back of the box and it gives me a recipe and step-by-step instructions, then that's what I'm going to do. This recipe was sort of different from other pasta recipes I've made. In this one, we add all the wet ingredients and mix them together really good. And then you start adding your flour 1 cup at a time until you get a dough. And so in other pasta recipes, you know, they always have like their flour on the counter and the nice little well in the middle, and then they crack their eggs into it.
Okay, yeah.
Everything runs
Messy.
away because your house is tilted.
Mhm.
So after I read this recipe, I was like, yeah, I'm using this one because it doesn't have me doing crazy stuff like that.
Okay, I take it back then. I take it back.
See, I'm coming around, ladies. I'm coming around.
We like when you do crazy stuff. It's fun for us.
I'm glad someone's enjoying it. So yeah, 2 eggs, 1/4 cup of olive oil, 1/2 cup of water, 1/2 teaspoon of salt, and 3 cups of flour.
Simple enough. Yeah.
It kneaded up really nicely.
It looked really soft.
Oh, it was soft. It was like really nice pasta dough. I don't know. I also, so on the back of this, it has the weights, not just the measurements, which was the second reason why I chose to do this, because it sounded easy and it had the weights, which we have discussed in the past is often better for when we're trying to make any kind of dough or bread item.
For the first time especially, yeah.
And so, yeah, I mean, it all came together good. It was still pretty sticky after I had added all the flour, but it says like, just put the dough on your counter with excess flour and just keep kneading until it comes together. And it came together really nice.
Like how many minutes?
Maybe between 5 and 10 minutes of kneading. It really
that's
wasn't bad.
Okay, that's not too bad. Okay.
No, there was no kind of craziness involved in this. It was quite relaxed.
Okay.
So the beautiful thing about my house being so old is my countertops have no real lip on them to clasp that pasta maker to. So I had to have my drawer open so that I could clasp my pasta maker. And then I had tons of flour and junk all in my drawer. Anyway, whatever. It worked fine. Did the thing where you roll it through the pasta maker a couple times and you fold it for the first 3 settings so that it laminates the dough.
Did they say
No, I
that
didn't follow
in
any instructions after this other than looking at the diagrams visually.
Okay.
Because I had pasta experience. I had past experience.
Past experience. Good one. Okay. All right.
This is
It takes
a winner.
little to entertain us. It takes little to entertain.
It said roll it out with a rolling pin until it's translucent on the package directions. I was like, I'm not doing this by rolling pin. So I passed it through and I went up to setting 7 out of 9 on my pasta maker because I kind of feel like you want a bit of a thicker dough on a ravioli because you want it to be kind of chewy when you bite into it, and it's got to hold this stuff you've made. I separated the dough into 4 pieces that were about 160 grams for each ball of dough, and then just kind of kept the ones that I wasn't using on the counter with a damp towel over top of them. With each ball of dough, put it through, did the laminating, rolled it out to 7. It made a big long strip that was enough to be the bottom and the top for my ravioli.
And it looked almost translucent.
You laid it down on the frame of the ravioli maker. You have a little mold that pushes indents into your raviolis before you put your filling in, so that you've kind of pre-stretched the dough where you're going to put your little ball of filling.
Right.
And then using my cookie scoop, which I think is a tablespoon scoop, I think that's the volume of it, cookie scooped, filling. And then with the second piece of dough, which was just waiting there, so convenient, you just place it on top, press it down with your hands, and then you use your rolling pin over top, and it seals the 2 together. You dump about on a tray, slice them up, and you're done.
Nice.
Now, one mistake I did make is they suggested that they sit on a generously floured surface for an hour, and then you're supposed to turn them upside down and let them sit on a very floured surface for another hour. So it suggests 2 hours of drying. I was like, oh, floured surface, I can just use parchment. Not a good idea, because the moisture, by the time I got home after I delivered your guys' ones, the moisture was so much that it started to stick to the parchment paper, and I couldn't lift up the raviolis without ripping the dough on top. So I would say definitely use put a whole bunch of flour down on a baking sheet instead of using parchment, because that will help and aid the drying process, because I just didn't think about it. I just assumed, and
me too.
Whoopsie.
I left them on the parchment you gave it to me on, and they were kind of stuck. So when I pulled them off, they kind of just, they didn't open, but they kind of made weird shapes. More like little dumplings. They kind of.
I was scared that they were gonna break.
I know,
but
didn't matter
didn't.
though. It did not matter. They taste just as delicious.
And this dough recipe was more than enough. I got 7 dozen raviolis out of this.
Holy moly. Okay.
And you had enough squash?
I wanted to use up all of my squash filling. So I just kept making ravioli until the squash filling was gone. And I ended up having more dough than ravioli filling at the end of the day.
More dough.
Wow.
So the recipe was more than enough, which was really nice, because I was a little worried I'd have to make more than one batch of dough, which is always kind of my I don't want to have to do that.
Yeah.
But it was really easy.
But I have to say, I love that you could taste the lemon in it.
It was very, very lemony.
Was I don't know, it just elevated it to something really special, because it wasn't just a squash ravioli, which is perfectly delightful. But the lemons, it was ooh, this is something really
I was really
good.
happy with the flavor coming through.
Those salted lemons with squash, lemon and squash together. Yum.
It is the best combination. So anyone who wants to make any type of ravioli, totally get yourself a ravioli maker with press, because it is fast and easy and yum, yum, yum.
Sounds good. Thanks, Erin.
Yeah, thank you. Good job. I love those.
Yeah, they were good.
Oh, I'm glad you liked them.
And now for the fine print. We at Three Kitchens gratefully acknowledge we are telling these stories in the traditional territories of the Treaty 7 nations in southern Alberta and the Métis Nation of Alberta, Region 3. We honor the rich tradition of oral storytellers on this land who have come before us. You can find pictures and recipe links on Instagram and Facebook at Three Kitchens Podcast. If you like and subscribe on your podcast player, that helps more people find us.
I didn't think I liked squash, but that was good.